Welcome to our second episode. Today we're looking at the door. It's an interesting story from the book of Exodus, and we'll see how that relates to the story of Easter. So first of all, I started with the landscape aspect, but I realized it wasn't giving the sense of foreboding that the story required. So I flipped to a vertical canvas, and here again I'm using guidelines to help me put in the right figures in the right place. Now, you'll notice the diagonal lines. Yeah, they use them for perspective to create a camera angle, whereas it gives the viewer this sense of foreboding that something is approaching. And yeah, that's the picture. It's meant to reveal that there was danger, and yet it's a story of salvation. In case you're not familiar with this, I'll just share the story briefly. And when I think of the story, I remember Prince of Egypt, one of my favorite animated movie to date. It's in the book of Exodus in the Bible. The Israelites had been slaves in the land of Egypt, and God wanted to get them free. So he sent Moses to tell the Pharaoh to let his people go. But Pharaoh refused, and God sent some plagues to get Pharaoh's attention. It was until this 10th plague where he said, Israel is my firstborn, and unless you release Israel, I'm going to take your firstborn. And it's a very scary picture when you think about it. I mean, God is a God of love. Why would he send a threat of death? One would wonder. But it's a picture of the fact that God is just, and he deals with evil. And because God deals with evil, he's also fair. That's why if he looked at his people of Israel, he knew that they also had committed sins. If God was going to judge evil, it wouldn't be fair to only judge the Egyptians, and the Israelites were judged. So he gave them an out, and it was going to be a prophetic picture of what he was going to do in Easter. They were to take the firstborn of either their sheep or their goats, a male, and to kill it and to splatter its blood on the lintel and the doorposts, that's on the top and the side posts of their doors. So you can see I painted the buildings brown. I'll get back to the story very soon. This was in Egypt, so the idea was to give a desert perspective. They were Israelites, but they were growing up in the land of Egypt. Yeah, okay, I was expanding the canvas because I needed more space for the features I was going to add. And yes, I like to put like a form of mood board of the colors I'm going to use in the background. It's meant to be an evening because the plague was going to approach in the night, so that's why I kept it in the these evening colors of red and purple. I would blend them later. So the building looks ramshackle a bit. Even the man painting his doorpost looks his clothes are torn, but he's a slave, and they're doing this in a hurry as evening approaches. They didn't even have the best of circumstances, that's why it's giving this shack imagery that I'm going for. And yeah, you can see that some plants are growing in the cracks in the walls and at the bottom of the building. Yeah, so back to the story. So that's why God told them to splatter this lamb. So why did he do that? The Bible tells us that the life of a creature is in the blood. The picture of an animal without blemish was a picture of Jesus who was going to come, the Son of God, without sin, without any blemish, and only someone that pure, only God who is that pure, could actually take away our sins. He was innocent, so he could bear all our sins, no matter what we've done. And when his life is the doorpost of our lives, we are protected from the judgments, because judgment is coming upon iniquity. And that was the picture of what was happening in the book of Exodus when the plague of death was gone. And it's also a picture to me of responsibility. I'm sure there were many families in Egypt who probably were innocent in a sense. They had not done the wrongs that Pharaoh had done, but because of his insistence to stand against God, they suffered for his stubbornness. That's a picture of responsibility. People in our church can bear the brunt of the mistakes or the victories that we make. That's why we need to be careful how we deal with authority. So once again, I'm putting the shadows on a new layer. Because the darkness is approaching from behind the house, that's why I kept the shadows just a little under the house there. And also put the shadow behind the painter because he's closer to us. Now comes the blood. I'm going to use a very bright shade of red to look like it's fresh. And it's dripping down the sides of the door and from the top a little down. Some scholars say that um, just as the blood came on the top of the door and the sides, it's a picture of how Jesus bled on his head and in his hands when he was nailed on the cross. Jesus said in John 10 that he is the door by whom anyone enters in, they will be saved. Of course, it was in the context of a shepherd being the door for his sheep into the sheepfold. But in the context of salvation, it's also a picture of the fact that through him we enter into salvation and we are protected from judgment. God is just and he is good, and that's why he doesn't just want to give us a forgiveness that is just rooted in nothing, but a legal one, an eternally legal forgiveness, justified by faith. So yeah, I'm adding some more foreboding, dark features to the image to give the picture of, it's we're here for serious business. Yeah, the clouds, it still looks a little nice. I tried to make it a little dark. I think I would improve on this in further words. But this was how far I got with the image. Adding some more shadows to give some more depth and this 3D effects to the picture. Yeah. Um, I love painting. I love doing artwork. It's one of the times where I get to create things. So yeah, I added this texture to the walls again, so it doesn't look plain or modern. It's supposed to look old. I could probably use a different texture for that. And yeah, yeah, the image is done, more or less. But for the sake of the artwork, I needed to extend it a little to the top, as you see in the final image, so that it doesn't look too claustrophobic. Let me put it that way. Is claustrophobic the word? But the picture is so that you feel the sense of urgency. Danger was approaching, and God was bringing salvation for his people. And that's the picture for us in Easter. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you for the comments on the previous video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell someone about this. Look forward to seeing you in the third episode for tomorrow. God bless you. Have a wonderful, reflective Easter week. Thank you.